it's Holly Marie King, and we are here to read Chapter 8 of Not a Dream. So, how about we just dive in and get started? Because I don't know about you, but I'm excited to read more. Even though I wrote it, and I've already read it like 20 times. But it's like reading it for the first time, so super awesome, and I'm excited. Anyway, so let's get started. Chapter 8, Disaster. What was that back there between you two? Helen asked, long after they had caught their breath and began to walk. That was us distracting the non-possessed humans until we were far enough away, Allison answered, back up in the trees. So, what do you want from us? The man asked Allison. It's not what I want, but what we all want, Allison answered knowingly. Okay then, what do we want? The man asked, annoyed. Allison clicked her tongue. Temper, she teased. All right, that's enough, Allison, Helen said, making the spirit jump away from the three of them. They had started traveling around the village to move forward. They were giving it a wide berth. It's just we have this prophecy, and your spirit has the next clue. We believe that if we get this done, you and I will be one person, and Allison and Burke will be a person. You mean he will be away from me? The man asked hopefully. Yes, Helen said simply. Will you help us? Are you kidding? The man took her hand to shake it furiously. I wouldn't have it any other way. Okay. Helen had to wrench her hand free from his grasp. To make things easy on both of us, my name is Helen. She almost extended her hand this time, but decided to keep it in her pocket. And you are? John, the man answered with a big goofy grin. Oh, John, you're so adorable. You are such a freak, Allison said, floating down to the two of them. 1 minute you're angry out of your gourd, and the next you're like goofy? Helen finished the girl's sentence. Who? Allison and John said together. Oh, he's a cartoon character, Helen said. Cartoon? Allison and John were together again with their question. Oh, never mind, Helen said tiredly. What's the next clue? She asked John. How am I supposed to know? John asked, shrugging. Why don't you ask Burke? Helen asked the man. Why would I? John sneered. Helen sighed and looked at the man in front of her. He had short brown hair and angry brown eyes. He was an average build and was just all around average. But for some reason, he felt as though he had to be angry at everything and everyone. I hope they're not all like this. I already have a headache. Stop whining, Allison told her. Just let Burke out so we can continue on. Fine, John growled. Do your worst. Only to you, Burke told his captor. What can I do to help? I like them. They make me feel happy, the voice hissed in her head. Helen closed her eyes tiredly. Burke was the opposite of John, for the most part. He was a big man with a pot belly and a big grin on his face. His eyes were mischievous green, and his hair was an unkept version of John's. What is the next clue? Why do you need his help? John growled. Because that's how it works, Helen answered. She was tired of and wanted nothing more than to get us worked up as John was. But she had to be an adult. You are nothing, the voice mocked her. It's ridiculous, John said through his teeth. You're the one being ridiculous, Burke spat. Why are you guys being so unreasonable? Allison asked, floating down between the two of them. You know what? If it's him you want, then I don't know why I'm even here. John threw up his hands and walked away. Burke stayed where he was, with his arms crossed over his chest, waiting. After John had gotten a few feet away, he looked as though some force threw him back at Burke's feet. Why did that happen? Helen whispered to Allison. The two girls had stepped back because the two boys decided to argue again. It's because the two are connected by an outside force, which in turns makes sure that they must stay together at all times, which means you can only get so far before you're brought back to one another, Allison explained. Then why in the village were we not brought back to you? Helen asked. A fist fight broke out now, but the girls stopped paying any attention. That's because at one point we feel the tug first, and we can choose to go to you or make you come back to us. It's easier for us to resist because we're not made out of solid matter. Oh, okay, Helen nodded. She yawned. This day is going to be very long, especially if we don't get moving, Allison added, watching the boys again. I'll give it a try. Helen walked towards the two men and got close enough to where she wouldn't get touched by the fight. You guys, we need to get going, Helen hollered at the two men, but she was ignored. She rubbed her aching head for a moment, hoping that she could catch some sort of break. Hey, would you two stop fighting so we can get going? Helen was still ignored. She sighed tiredly, throwing her arms in the air as she turned to sit down. Let me handle this. Allison went right into the middle of the fight and took a deep breath. You two better stop fighting right now, or you will know true pain. Her voice wasn't even female. It was loud and booming. It scared Helen to hear it, and she knew she wasn't the one being threatened. The two men looked up in surprise. John was panting, but Burke was fine, considering he was a spirit and didn't need to breathe. What the hell was that? John asked. That was me getting your attention, Allison explained back to normal. Do I have your attention? John nodded. Good. Then here is what we need. 1. We need the next piece of the prophecy to continue on. 2. We need the two of you to get your act together. And 3. We need to get moving before the people following us catches up to us. I didn't walk for 3 days straight to be caught. Wait, you walked for 3 days? Helen said, where was I? I remember walking for a day. Allison cringed away. Well, you see, I can choose to make you sleep longer if it's necessary, and I didn't want to make you walk that far, so I took over. Helen's jaw dropped. I can't believe you! How can I trust you if you don't tell me about this kind of thing? She turned away from the spirit. Look, I'm sorry, I was just trying to help, Allison said helplessly. Then why don't you sleep for 3 days straight and tell me how you feel afterward? Helen began walking away. What are you waiting for? Let's move it. Allison hung her head as she disappeared. I'll sleep until we find the next person, she told Helen from inside her head. Whatever, Helen said tiredly. And I thought we had problems, John said from behind Helen. It's different when the two of you are siblings. You actually know each other, Helen said over her shoulder. How did you know we were brothers? John asked surprised. You have the same hair and you fight like brothers, at least from my experience with brothers. Oh. John looked away. I'm sorry for being such a nuisance, but it's tough when you're stuck in with a golden child all the time. Yeah, well, did your mother love you? Was your father around to teach you what you know now? Helen asked. Yes, they took very good care of both of us, John said thoughtfully. Then you shouldn't feel so threatened. She started to walk a little faster. John sped his pace so that he could walk beside her. You don't know anything about me. You may have gotten the fact we are brothers right, but you don't understand. They were always... Helen stopped. John walked a few paces before he realized she had stopped walking. Shut up, she murmured. I'm trying to tell you they've treated me like I said. Shut up. Helen growled in his face. You don't understand. No. Helen was still in his face. You don't understand, little boy, she sneered. Poor little John. His mommy pays more attention to his brother than she does him. Hey, you're trying to step over some boundaries here. You can complain about your brother as much as you want to, but you have no right to complain about how your parents treat you, Helen sighed. You know what? She bit her lip and breathed for a couple seconds before she spoke again. You're right. I was overstepping boundaries. I'm sorry. I'm just really tired. That's right. You're sorry, John said, attempting to sound tough. Burke, what's the next part in the prophecy? Helen asked, the spirit changing the subject. The person you seek paints the horizons, Burke answered. That was creepy, John said, stepping away from his brother. Let's go, Helen said, wanting this trip to be over before things got any worse. Burke, lead the way. Alright, so that was the end of Chapter 8. Next week we will do Chapter 9, Divided. And we meet Ellen. Yay. See how much she changed since the original was written. But anyway, as I always say, we have the description in the description below, the book. The links to the books, they're in there if you would like to buy a book. I don't make any profit off of it. It's just for your enjoyment if you would like to have a copy of your very own. So hopefully I will see you guys next time. Bye!